Hello and welcome to this third video from the Party Hat and Streamers series. Now, if you haven't watched number 1 and 2, I encourage you to do so. I also have another video before all 3 of those that shows you what's inside this card kit, and it is the unboxing video. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and watch those before this one. Moving on to my first card. I used this beautiful pattern paper that had these people frolicking with rainbows and balloons in the background. Then I took some pattern paper with some hearts and layered that over the top. Now I have a few pieces of the die cut paper, and this cake is the ephemera piece. No, it is a chipboard sentiment. I'm sorry. Then I'm going to take the words "let's eat" and put them next to the word cake. I'll just take my reverse tweezers and put them exactly where I want them, and then give them a firm press down. I will also be using the little asterisk star-shaped pieces just to give the card a more festive look, as if it needs to be more festive, but I thought that it would kind of look like little flickers of flame from the candles. Now, with the "let's eat" cake, everything is very sticky, but I did take a little bit of liquid glue on the apostrophe for the "let's," just so it would stick on the paper, since the apostrophe is quite small, like so. Now in this video, I will show you 10 different designs, but 11 cards. I will have a sister or cousin card, if you will, in this video. And this finishes off my first card. Now for my second card, I used my circle punches again. I used a 2.5, a 2, and a 1.5, just to make a little bit of a grounding area for my cake. And the cake is a piece of paper from the die cut pack. Then I'm going to use the foam that came in the kit to pop up the "Make Your Dreams Happen." And I do use the squares, the foam squares, but I also use the extra pieces of foam because they work just like the foam squares, but you just have to cut them up with a little bit of scissors, so why not? Then I will add the stars on to the background. And inside I will put one green hat. And I made 2 cards, so here is the first and second card. But before I move to the next card, I did put a little bit of Wink of Stella on the cake, just to give it a little bit of a sparkle. Now with this one, I have 3 pieces of pattern paper, and they are scraps. So I'm using the purple craft tape on the front and my tape runner on the back to stick them onto the big piece of pattern paper. Then when everything is firmly pressed down, I will gently peel up my purple tape. And just like that, I've used up 3 different pieces of scrap. And if you count the little green square that I put on the back of my chipboard frames here, I used 4. So, yay. I like to use up all of the pattern paper as much as I can and use up everything that I can in the kit to make really fun cards, but also try to make a few more than you might think. So yes, the card comes with 10 card bases and 10 envelopes, but you really can use your own cardstock to make more card bases, and there's quite a few tutorials online of how to make your own card bases. So if you're interested in that, I'm sure that you have just a quick Google search ahead of you and you'll be good to go. You can even use the cardstock that comes in the kit. That is pattern paper, not pattern paper, but different colored paper, and they usually do come with a white piece of paper as well, so that's already 2 extra card bases. I did use a little bit of Wink of Stella on this card and finished it off with 5 sequins. I love that Spellbinders is now doing large and small sequins in their card kits because it just adds a little bit of extra oomph to the cards. Now I'm using 2 different scraps and I'll just trim off the edges. Sometimes I'll use this little paper trimmer and sometimes I'll use my big one. It just really depends on my mood and how much thickness the paper is. This pattern paper is fairly thin, so my little paper trimmer does the job quite nicely. Like I said, I've been really drawn to circles recently, so I used a big circle die that was a stitch die. I believe it's from Lawn Fun. And cut out the balloon pattern paper and made it a big circle for all of my things to kind of land on. These little cassette tapes were adorable and I wanted to use all 3 on one card. And then I chose the sentiment "Wish Big" because of the big present. In my mind, it made sense. And these little chipboard words of "Wish Big" were touched a lot on my desk, so I needed to add a little bit of glue behind them just to ensure that they would not be moving off of the card once I placed them down. Now with this card, I'm going to use the 3 pieces of scrap paper technique that I do quite often to make it look like there is one big piece of pattern paper in the background. I like using this technique because it makes my pattern paper go farther. And I usually will take the middle piece and either put it directly in the center or offset it. This time I chose to put it a little bit up to the top. Then I'm going to take 3 of the party hats stickers from this kit and add a sentiment. This time I chose the celebrate one, and it says, "I wish I could be there with you," or something like that. So it doesn't have to be a birthday theme card with this kit. It really could be a congratulations or something like that. Sorry, my head got in the way because I wanted to make sure that my stamps were centered. But when you're crafting, you're allowed to have crazy hair. All right. Now, it didn't turn out the best, so yeah, flip it over. Like I said before, when crafting, if it doesn't work, either go with it or start over. This time, I flipped it over. And the second time did the job. Next, I'm going to take my corner rounder and just round off the corners. I forget how much I like using my corner rounder. It reminds me of when I was younger and I would scrapbook with my mom. So I pull it out occasionally, but usually if it's out of sight, out of mind. So I usually keep it on my desk, so I will use it on some of my cards. And this is the finished card. Again, with the pom-poms being so thick, it's definitely a hand deliver kind of card. Now, with this card, I chose to use my circle punch and punched out a big orange circle from the center of my card. And I'm going to put all of my materials on top of the card, and you will never know after the finished card is done that there was a missing circle. And if it bothers you to have like a little bit of a bend down in the card, you can just take a piece of scrap paper and fill it in the circle before you put the pattern paper over, but it doesn't bother me and I don't notice it, so I don't really do that, but it's an option. Then with the 2.5 circle and the 2-inch circle, I just made a little bit of a base for my balloons to sit on. I'm going to use the foam squares to pop up the balloons just to give it a little bit of dimension, since this card is fairly a flat card. And like I said before, you can go ahead and cut up that foam squares the background of them just to use it even more. Then I'm going to use the sentiment "Yay" to add to the card to give it a little bit of a sentiment on the bottom. Now this could be used for a birthday or a graduation, anything that you would be celebrating. I will take my glossy accents and just add them to the balloons for a bit of shine. Once I'm finished with the glossy accents, I will put the card off to the side so the glossy accents will dry completely. It does take about an hour. And lastly, I finished the card with 3 sequins. Now for this card, I used the black cardstock just to bring out the centers of the flowers on my pattern paper, and a scrap of pattern paper to go across for my bouquet and sentiment to rest on. This time I chose to not pop up my flowers and just put them directly onto my card. Then the Wish Big sentiment was put on just like all the other ones, just adjusting it lightly and then pressing firmly once it was in place. And of course, a little bit of glue for the eye. Then for the big, I just simply put it on. I did add 3 sequins to finish off that card. Now this one looked similar to my last card, so this is a sister card of that, except I am going to use a stamp sentiment instead of the sticker sentiments because I used up all of the sticker sentiments from the kit at this point. So I'm going to trim down a little piece of white paper so it will fit on my card. I will put down my pattern paper where I'd like it. I'd like it to go in the top third, and I'm going to stamp onto my paper before I put it on my card. This way, just in case it has a mistake, I can fix it. I actually thought about it ahead of time, which was rare for me. This one is Celebrate Your Future Looks Bright, so it could be used for probably a graduation card if I would have to guess how I'm going to use it. Then I will take some foam squares and pop up the bouquet. And of course, finish it with some sequins. Then for this card, this is my last and final card from this card kit video series. I will use my purple tape there to make sure that that card strip or cake strip stays on, and add my pattern paper rectangle here of the balloons going straight across. And I took my circle punch and cut out the cakes on the right there, and I wanted to create unity between the circles and the strip of pattern paper. So I just cut out 2, and I will be putting my balloons on the pink circle, similar to my last card, but quite a bit different. But it will have a popped up balloon, centered balloons in the center here, but a bit different pattern paper and such, and a different design. And with this clump of balloons, I will use my glossy accents again, just to give it a little bit of a shine. And I thought this was my last card, but it actually isn't. I have one more left. And I'm using the dancing people, or frolicking people pattern paper again, with the candle paper and the white polka dot heart yellow paper. Now with this one, it's kind of a mix of the ephemera and paper pieces. So I have the ephemera pieces are the tag and the little sunray, and the chipboard pieces are this stamp and the cupcake and the candles and cake sentiment. So they're a little bit thicker. I did use my little scissors there to pop up that circle, But I guess a safer way to do that would be using my tool-in-one. Although that is quite sharp as well. So I caution you. I didn't know if I wanted that circle to go in the center of the circle, but then my cupcake would have been crooked and I wasn't interested in that. So it's just kind of off to the side, which is just fine. And I'll finish this card with a few sequins, and that will finish off my last card. So if you've watched all the way through, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed the cards and can create your own beautiful cards. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in seeing my next video, which will be what's left over, I will show you what I have left over after making all of these cards with this card kit. So again, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.